Okay, people. So I uploaded the video. I've done this, okay? I scanned those documents. There was 12 pages. You can see it's all done now. Right? What does this mean? What is this? These came out of nowhere. Anonymous giraffe. Anonymous rhino. And an anonymous dingo. Like, what does that mean, people? I don't... And then, do you see how it just disappeared? It just disappeared. Does this mean that somebody's looking at this page? Is that what that means? Because I provided the link. Okay? And there, as soon as I get this done, and I put it in to share, within a few minutes, I'm getting these. Now, how long is this one going to be looking at this page for? Is that what that tells you? Is somebody's looking at this page? Because two have already disappeared. Right? So anyway, I have now it up. You can see, I just put it up. It's just been up there for 2 seconds. See how you have to go around everything? I put that, what we were just looking at, into the description box. Oops, sorry, wandering eye. And then I added the video in reference to this video. And I don't know what's going to happen here. Okay, people, so now it's December 28, 2019. It says no views as of yet. You can see they're there. Okay. Okay, so now I'm being ignored. You can see. So we'll see how long it takes to get somebody to see that video. Hold on a minute. Okay, so now we have an anonymous cheetah. I came in from the video itself, right? I came in from the video itself, okay? I clicked in, somebody else has obviously clicked in, and then they must have went into here, must have clicked in that, which brought them to here. Oh, now I've got something else. Do you see this? What is this? Now it's an anonymous narwhal whale, or whatever that is. Like, what is this, people? What is this? Because there was like 3 of them that popped up as soon as I uploaded this shit. Okay? And then you decide, it says anyone with the link. So this can access, no sign required. Okay, right? Now it's gone. So that means that somebody came in and looked at it, okay, and they must have got the link through my page, but before it was even up on my page, there were people already, those little things already popping up. So, I don't know what that means outside of I'm trying to just learn how to use this program. Right? Okay, people. Nothing fancy here. It's going on 9 a.m. in the morning. It is December 29th, 2019. I've been working in the basement, people, all day yesterday. I don't know. For the last, 2 months? I've been ripping out cupboards, ripping out closets, ripping out more cupboards, moving things around, took all the bins downstairs, and, well, not all of them, but with the fabrics, and, and now I'm like, I took out and ripped out the little cubby hole down there with Andre's walnut art, and, all that paper, and all that wax, and the canopies, right, for park events, and that kind of stuff. Anyway, now I'm, like, getting into every corner in the basement, basically. I did the dryer yesterday, people. I pulled out the dryer, vacuuming, wiping, all the dust, all the spider webs. I still have to pull out the back of the dryer. My son can do that for me. And then I'll go in there and just give it a quick vacuum. And he's screwing up some things that are falling down, right, in terms of, like, you know, wood, right, to keep the pipes kind of like whatever, right? A very dusty house. It's a very old house, but besides that point. So anyway, two things, okay? I wasn't going to do a video outside of what I'm going to do this afternoon, which is we're going to start learning how to play music, people. That's what's going to happen here. Okay? Because I was banging away on Auntie Shimei's piano yesterday, in between ripping out this corner and ripping out that corner, and you know, because I'm doing a mad rearrange and I'm clearing it out for the, you know, my kids and for my grandkids, you know. I mean, it's a very small house, so there's only so much you can clear out. But, you know, I'm just really revamping everything as best as I can. So I'm like going to this piano, and now I was introduced to the piano when I was like a very small child, because my Auntie Noreen had a piano in her house, and her daughter, who would have been a cousin to me, Diane, she played piano, right? So when I was young, like, oh God, young, like 4 or 5, well, no, it wouldn't have been 4, but like, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, somewhere around that time. Although I do think I lived with my Auntie Noreen before I went to my grandmother, because I remember being with them and being in the car and being in the house and my Auntie Noreen cooking, and I remember the National Geographics, people. That's my love for National Geographics, because they had a whole bookshelf full of National Geographics, right? And to bring one out and to look at it was a highlight, right? So that's where my love for National Geographics come from my Uncle George and Auntie Noreen. So anyway, they had a piano in the basement, and like I said, their daughter played piano, so I think probably one of the first things I ever learned on a piano was do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Ask me to play it now, I couldn't do it because I don't remember, but I remember back in the day when I was little, I can't even put a time period on it, that's how little I was. I played it. Anyway, I grew up, whatever, and I attached myself to a guitar, right? And I tried to play guitar and write my own music. And I actually tried to learn to write it with notes, right? As I was doing whatever I was doing. The only problem with a guitar for me is I'm not strong enough to play a guitar, right? To its full capacity, right? And the bridge of the guitar, you know, the body of the guitar goes right here into this part of my chest. And because I don't have a lot of body fat, you know, when you push and you're playing hard, right, whatever you're doing, it was bothersome. And, you know, you got to keep your nails cut. You develop, if you're good, right, the calluses, right? And, you know, you got to keep doing it. But anyway, let's just say it didn't turn out to be, never grew up to be a music writer. I tried, but it didn't work. So anyway, when I bought the piano for Shimei, right, what happened was I bought it when she was 8. I bought it when we were living in the shanty shack. And what it is, it's an electric piano. It's in her actual bedroom. There's Auntie Shimei's room, which is her room in the basement, which I was working in yesterday, working on setting up machines, right, for sewing. We don't have a very big sewing space in there, but that's okay, right? You know, the room is a bit chilled because of the food storage, but that's okay, right? It's the fact that it's coming along to the best of its ability considering the size of the room, right? So anyway, and then there's Shimei's room upstairs, because when we moved into this house, the room where the piano is was Shimei's room. She was forced out of that room due to bad circumstances and ended up downstairs and then moved into Auntie and Uncle John's room after she had Andre, and that's now her Auntie Shemai's room. Okay, so anyway, I bought her the electric piano when she was 8, and she didn't really pay attention to it. And then when you go into her like writings, you know, I'm gonna upload some of those into Google Documents as well at some point, or maybe go in and upload them on her channel. I'm not sure yet. What do you call it? She says age 12. That's when she really kind of hunkered down and decided to teach herself how to play piano. Now that's where Shemay and I were similar. At one point, I decided I was going to teach myself how to write music. And I was going to write music. And I did. Only, you know, I got sidetracked with other things. And the guitar, you know, was hard to, anyway, it's early in the morning and I got a long day ahead of me, right? I'm wondering what YouTube's gonna do with my drums here. With Fire Passage from Byron Metcalf. Oh, I love this guy. I asked my son, I said, son, I said, I want to make music like this. I want to make music like this with Andre. How can we do it? He goes, Mom, you know, you got so many things to do, and, you know, it's really complicated, and you got to focus, and, you know, you spread yourself too thin, and are you sure this is what you really want to do? Because it's really time-consuming. And I'm like, well, you know, we can set it up and work on it here and there, and, you know, Andre can learn. And so anyway, long story short, banging on this piano last night, in between my ripping things apart in the basement as I'm rearranging stuff, you know, I don't know, people. Anyone who plays music, okay? I'm not talking about, oh, let me try and write some music. I'm talking about people who actually play music via gift. Shemay had a gift. I have to work on mine, okay? Right? Whereas Shemay didn't have to work on it. It just came to her naturally. And because it came to her naturally, after she got those basic core skills down in terms of how to play piano and read music or whatever, right? She could play fluently, right? To the point where if she sat and started playing on the piano and there was people just hovering around, nobody that she knew in particular, it would not be long before she'd have a crowd around her asking for more. That's what I'm talking about when somebody plays music, okay? When I sat down on that piano and I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna bang on the keys. I'm gonna bang. It's a piano, you can't break it, right? And I just let that energy come out through my fingers to get the deep tones. That's why I'm playing this, right? So you can hear the deep tones. To get those deep tones, those vibrations, those, rhythms, just those waves, getting them out, singing from the piano itself, because this is a 100-year-old piano. Yes, some of the keys stick. Yes, it needs to be tuned, but for what it's worth, people, it doesn't sound that bad. Even Shemay was amazed when I dragged it home and said, listen, play. She goes, wow, Mom, that actually doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, I know. And it was free, people. It was in that little house over that house over there where they tore down those 100 trees. They were going to tear down the house with everything left inside, and the piano was left inside. And just by the grace of God, I happened to get permission to take the piano. I brought it home. And then 1 month later, Shemay was gone. And now I'm sitting in front of it, feeling Shemay's energy. This is what I'm trying to say. I'm feeling her. I felt her as if she was right next to me. Whether she was sitting beside me, whether she was standing over me, right? I felt her with me. Now, maybe it's just my imagination station. I don't know, right? But you have to remember, Shimei died like not even like 3 feet, 4 feet from where I'm sitting playing this piano, okay? And it felt good to play the piano. That's the point. And what did I say earlier in previous videos? As I go blind, everybody's worried about what I'm going to do. In terms of, are you going to become suicidal because you can't see no more? How are you going to manage? Are you scared? Don't do anything stupid because you're going blind. Because I'm slowly but surely warning my children I'm going blind. Things are getting darker. It's not just I can't see it anymore. It's getting darker. Right? So, you know, I think about Uncle John. Uncle John was basically blind. That's why he had us, people. That's how Uncle John survived for 23 years with not a scratch. With a sound mind. Because he had a family helping him through it with his blindness. So I'm not too worried about going blind. Stevie Wonder was blind. Ray Charles was blind. And they managed. Right? Other people are blind. And they manage. So, and I did say, if I do go blind, well, on the bright side is I'll have more time to focus on playing piano, because that's when I would really teach myself how to play piano. What else am I going to do blind? I can write music. Right? And wait for somebody to bring me something to eat. You know? So, I'm banging on this piano, and then I close my eyes. And I'm like, okay, let's just imagine if you really do go blind, how would you possibly play piano if you don't even know how to play piano? Like, how did those guys, how did Ray Charles, how did Stevie Wonder play piano? How did they play piano, people? Blind. I think Ray Charles came in seeing, but I'm not, just barely, you know. But, like, how do you play piano and get those keys and know exactly where they are without seeing where you're going? Never mind trying to do it with visualization. And the thing about piano is, see, I couldn't play piano because I couldn't get both hands playing at the same time. My brain doesn't work like that. You have to have a special brain to be able to have it connect, where it can do all those different rhythms at one time with your hands. Shimei, it was a natural for Shimei. For me, I mean, at best, I don't know what we're going to get with me learning how to play piano or just even fooling around with it. But the point is it's down there, and I enjoyed doing what I was doing. So I'm going to do some today and record as I'm doing it. There's going to be no rhyme or reason around it, right? I don't know what I'm doing. Not even trying to profess that I do. And I'm going to sit Andre down with me, and we're going to open up this little pack. I'm not sure what's in here, but anyway, we're going to start talking about this, and I'll have him sit down for a few minutes and try something. And then, of course, I've got other musical educational material in the house, whether it's for guitars, whether it's for harmonics. He wants to play harmonics again, so actually I should go get my harmonica before I go downstairs. How about that? We gave Auntie Shimei's harmonica that I had given Shimei to Jerome, right? Tisha's brother. And he has Auntie Shimei's harmonica. But Andre has his harmonica, and I have my harmonica. So maybe I'll go get my harmonica before I go downstairs and toot my horn down there when I'm banging on the piano. And then what I've done is I've contacted an old friend of Shimei's when we used to live at Gateway Place, and at that time he would have been like 8 years old, right? And he came in with his mother from Sudan, and father, I'm pretty sure his father, they came in as a family, as refugees, and Gateway Place was one of those first initial places where people, like I said, I used to work in the courtyard with the families and the kids, and he used to come out with his sisters and his mother, Yanami, Oh, man, she was so... Mama Lynn, what we doing, Mama Lynn, Mama Lynn? Oh, Yanami. Anyway, her son, right, at that time was 8. Well, now he's like 6'2", maybe taller. And when we did the bells for Andre, I didn't know he could play piano, people. This young man can play piano, and he's got long fingers. He's got long fingers. And he goes... I should pull up the video. I'll pull up the video. I'll go find the video, and I'll put the video with this video, okay? Because this young man has got it down. Anyway, I contacted him. I just did it, right? So we'll see what he says. I said, look, do you think if I gave you $50 a month, if you can come to my house 2 times a month and tutor Andre and me? Why not? Why not? He knows how to play piano. He knows how to read music, right? His mother, I don't know. It was amazing how he can play piano. What's even more amazing is the fact that his fingers are so long and he just goes, it's like so natural for him, right? So that's why I'm kind of like banging on the piano, because I've got short fingers, plus I've got nails, right? I let my nails grow until they break off, and then they grow. You know, my nails can get pretty long sometimes, right? And so anyway, you know, you have to kind of hit them like you know, with the keys, right? You kind of have to hit the keys with almost the tip of your finger, right? You know, and you've got to kind of hit them with force in order to get that vibration, right? So I don't know. I mean, I can't assume that he'll come by, but 2 times a month for half an hour, 45 minutes, you make an extra $50. That's all I can afford. I'd like to give him 100, but I'm not myself. I'm not going to stretch it, right? We'll start with the 50, and then we'll see, you know, 2 times a month for half an hour, 45 minutes. We'll go downstairs, bang on the piano. He'll just touch us, you know, kind of, right? Like I said, I've got other programs that Shimei taught herself with, or whatever, just to give Andre that tutor sense, right? I want him to have a tutor. And of course, you know, I'm teaching Andre what I'm learning as I'm opening up these little programs, but it's nothing like a real tutor. So maybe we might get a tutor for piano for Andre. I'll let you know how that goes in the next week or 2. We'll see what happens. It depends. Maybe he doesn't live in Surrey anymore. Maybe he's moved away. So maybe it would be impossible for him to come by, right? But if he does, that would be so cool, because he grew up with Shimei, people. This young man grew up with Shimei. Okay? Him and his sisters, right? He loves Shimei. He'd love to play on Shimei's piano. He'd come by just to play on Shimei's piano, right? And because he's got a tune and an ear for pianos, when I get ready to tune this piano, because a couple of keys stick, right? You know, he can be there when they tune it, and then he can make sure it's tuned correctly, because he's already tuned in with the ear. So, no, okay, so that's that. Now, the other thing I just want to touch on briefly, and I'm going to add the link to this news article that somebody sent to me on Facebook. Actually, the board director to the foundation, stateside, right? And shout out to our board director to the foundation stateside, right? I don't know what's going on with the other board director out here, because those certificates, I don't know if you caught my last video, but they're not up on the wall, and he hasn't brought them back, so that I'm hoping that's a good sign, right? I'm still waiting on that $2 million donation, board director. Right? But call this man over here, you know, it's either funny money or you know, put your foot where your mouth is, kind of thing, right? So anyway, okay, so this news article, it says Christie Blatchford, I don't know, BC man pleads for family court reform in suicide note. Okay, when was this written? This is a 2017. This is a 2017 article, March 28th, 2017. in a scrawled suicide note, he wrote, parental alienation is devastating. I loved my children as much as a husband and father could, and I see no light. Okay, so basically what it is, it was a BC man living out here where I live, right, that had a wife, had 2 children, got divorced, went into court, and then the judge ended up awarding this woman something like $6,000 a month in child support. I mean, does that even sound reasonable, people? Right? And then, because she was saying that he was abusive and all this crap, blah, 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 right? He ended up having to get, like, pay for a lawyer to defend him, to defend his character, I guess, and fight for his kids, right? That costed, like, something like almost $300,000, right? By the time it was all said and done. And initially, he was something to do with, I don't want to sit here and read the whole article, right? And I did read through it, but he had a business that had to do with microwave dishes and technology, right? But when they came in with the fiber optics, right, and they replaced Wi-Fi more with fiber optics, that wiped out his company, right? So then he went bankrupt, right? Because I guess, he was just I don't know. He wasn't a major corporation, right? He was just a small business that was in high tech that got phased out because of fiber optics coming in, providing internet service and that type of shit, right? But in the meantime, he's going to court, and based on his past income, he was forced to, pay child support in the amount of $6,000 a month or whatever it is written in there. And then he ended up having a relationship. I can't remember if he got married to the woman who was a lawyer in the same court building, right? That he's running around fighting this other woman over with to see his kids, but yet he's not allowed to see his kids because she's saying, there was abuse, right? But the judge was still making him pay child support as this other woman is coming up through the ranks who happens to be a lawyer, right? And ends up getting, child support for her son that this man couldn't see. Now, keep in mind, the reason I'm pointing this out, though, is because how is it that Julian did what Julian did? And I'm going to keep this short, right? Because I'll just provide the link, okay? How is it? Because this dude killed himself, people. He was 45 years old. He owed everybody all this money because of being gang stalked through the court system in terms of child support and all this other shit, right? He had to hire a lawyer, go $300,000 into debt as his company was failing because of fiber optics. And he wasn't allowed to see none of his children. He hadn't seen his daughters for 11 months. Right? So he was suffering from parent alienation. Now, this is a man who hasn't murdered anybody, who wasn't selling drugs, right? Who wasn't carrying around guns, right? Right? Who wasn't, committing any crimes, right? And he's having to get a lawyer to defend himself, right? Going further and further into debt as child support is compounding in terms of late payments. And even though he was making payments, maybe he made $1,000 a month, he was still $5,000 behind because now his company is bankrupt and he's having a nervous breakdown, right? He was losing his license, his driver's license. He actually got arrested and was put in jail for failing to pay his child support. This is a man who's never been in jail. He was petrified, right? They were going to take away his passport. Don't know where he came from, but that's not the point. The point was he was definitely being gang stalked through the court system, right? And he ended up having a nervous breakdown and he killed himself in Abbotsford. I don't know what's going on in Abbotsford, but Abbotsford, in BC pops up quite a bit, actually, right? In terms of shit, like just, right? So he put something around his neck and got into his car and drove off and went down an embankment to the point where, because the car couldn't stop, snapped his neck, and he left a suicide note in a vehicle asking the court for family reform. Because he just couldn't take it anymore, people. He just couldn't take it anymore. And like, I know what it feels like to be bankrupt, stay bankrupt, forever be bankrupt, right? To be harassed as you're being bankrupted on purpose by more powerful entities in terms of corporations and that type of thing, right? And it gets to the point where you either let it fucking break you, like it broke this man, right? Or you just be content to die poor, people. Die poor. Like, okay, what's going on with Fraser Health Authority and all the money that they spent taking me to court? Where's that ledger? How are they justifying spending that money? Where's the ledger for the court for the minute time that I was in court in front of these biased judges? How much did that all cost? Where's the ledger on that? What about the lawyer for CIBC Bank and those court-related receipts? Just in terms of filing papers and all that shit. Right? Like, how are they fudging the numbers in terms of justifying what they've done when there isn't even any settlement regarding those court procedures? Right? Because the big threat was, oh, we're going to, charge you for our lawyer fees. Yeah, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Charge me $200,000 for Andrew the Dragon pissing all over the place. At the end of the day, they're the ones cleaning up the piss, not me. They're cleaning up Andrew's piss, not me. I'm not in the courthouse fucking washing the floors. They are. But don't you find it interesting that the disparity between Amari's situation, a vulnerable baby with a suspicion of murder, and with a poisonous substance being involved in terms of, don't forget, I found that little baggie in the middle of Shemai's bed where Julian was laying from the time of 6:30 after that phone call came in at 6:10 a.m. So we'll give him 20 minutes to show up, because by 6:30 I heard Shemai singing in Tisha's room. So she wasn't in her bedroom because Julian was in the bed playing with his dope baggies. And because he was getting such an adrenaline rush, he left the bag behind. Right? But for some reason, that gave him a free pass to see Amari 3 days a week for over a year, where he not once picked up Amari himself or dropped off Amari himself or paid any form of child support, not even 1 red cent or even 50 cents for that matter. Right? Those decisions allowed his sister to stalk my YouTube channel daily, all day long, as she seeks out entertainment from her friends to watch my shit, as they're saying, turn off Mama Lynn, we want to listen to music. And she's saying, no, you gotta listen to what she's saying. Because that girl is in denial as to what her brother is really about. But for some reason, the court was coddling him, because they sure in the hell weren't treating Julian like they were treating this guy. And this is the point of this video. What was the difference between the two guys? What? It happened in 2017? You can pull up more articles like this, I'm sure. Hell, you don't even have to pull up the articles. All you have to do is go to the courthouse and hang out for a while and get to meet people and hear their stories. If I had more time, I would do that. I'm not anti-father, people. I'm not anti-male. I love males, okay? I love men as much as I love people. But there's also a side of me that don't like people, as should be, because not everybody has good intentions, right? And people tend to be, more judgmental than be proactive in terms of, I guess, just social issues. So anyway, I'm going to provide this link here, right? I was going to read it, but I'm not going to. I think if you want to, you can, right? Because it's a really sad situation that this man was alienated from his children. When you look at how Julian was rewarded for his actions against my family, that put a lot of people at risk, that are still at risk because I'm still being stalked, people. As a matter of fact, I had, and I'll put that there too, I had, I'm sure, well, we know it's a fake user. We know it probably has something to do with Julian's sister, right? And if not that, then it would probably be John's niece, right, that doesn't want her mother to get caught for what happened to Uncle John. But you see, Cheryl, if you are watching, it is outside of my hands now. It is in the court system where the court itself doesn't even know what the fuck to do in order to close the ledger. Because there's a ledger on it. A financial ledger. There was a cost to it. So how is Fraser Health Authority going to explain that cost to the government? Right? Because really, the targeting of my channel didn't start until Uncle John disappeared, so we can't blame everything on Julian's sister. We can't. But in light of what I hear from other people and what I actually see, because they're bringing it to my attention, you're making threats to what? Call MCFD on me again to have Andre removed from the house because he does homeschooling? There's no law to say you can't. I have valid reasons to do so. Right? That's a form of gang stalking. That's harassment. Those are threats. Those are the same threats that happened the day after Shimei was murdered. I show up to court, right, with Paul, okay? And Paul says, no, Paul wasn't there yet. I went to court the next day only because, people, he used to threaten me with not only injuring my family, okay, but he said, you would never get the baby. Shimei, right there, people. Mom, if anything happens to me, he had something to do with it. Oh, Shimei, kick him out to the curb. Don't let him back in the fucking house. She wanted to go to the judge and tell the judge how he was a drug dealer and she had video and she had this and she had that, all in terms of evidence, because he refused to sign. I'm telling you, people, he refused to sign the federal papers to put her name on the birth certificate. She felt that she had to go in front of a judge in order to get her name on the birth certificate, and she was going to prove to the judge as to what kind of guy this guy was. Because remember, they tricked her at his mother's house. They filled out the paperwork online to put the birth certificate in terms of who's who, and they picked a fucking fight. She turned, got distracted, they changed it, they pushed the button, boom, it went up, and the only thing on it is Johnson. No Chorney, just Johnson. So she asked him several times, here's the paperwork. I have the paperwork here. It wasn't filled out, but she printed it out. And she was asking, and he just kept stalling. And then she said, that's it. Why do you think I have those videos, people, of him fucking doing cocaine? Why do you think I have those videos, people, of him counting his fucking drug money? Huh? Why do you think I have those videos of him accusing her of drugging him as he's attacking her and she's pushing him off with her fucking feet? Because that was evidence for the judge, people, to get her name on a birth certificate for a child that she birthed, as they were plotting and scheming behind her back to take the baby away. So when she died, I went into panic mode because I didn't know what to do. And what? I went to court, got the papers, served him, showed up the next 2 days, 7 days, or whatever, 3 days, or whatever it was, later, and there were the social workers, because they called social services on me. Right? And they did it again and again and again. And they're gonna do it again. I've already said this, people. Because they're openly threatening me on a fucking video. And it more than likely has something to do, at this point, with Julian's sister, because she goes on her Instagram, takes little clips of my videos, and tries to trash talk me as she secretly connects with other Instagram users to fucking tell her side of the story, even though she never lived it. Right? I have never seen this girl no more than 10 times in my whole fucking life, people. Okay? You do the math. How can this girl know so much if she was never around? How can she be so correct if she was never around? So anyway, it's the fact that she has an obsession with me because she can't accept the fact that her brother is a failure. Right? He had over a year to pay child support. He chose not to. He had over a year to express, a year and a half, to express how he didn't injure Shemaine, how he didn't do it on purpose. He had over a year and a half to explain that, people, but he chose not to. And then when his mother and his sister were doing his bidding for him because he was incapable of being a man for himself, right, in terms of sticking his neck out and actually, saying, hey, yeah, this is my son, nice to see you, and trying to build onto a healthy relationship, right, for the benefit of the child, right? Even in the last 4 visits, before his mother bailed out, because she got caught, people. She got caught picking up Amari, knowing that he wasn't coming. And that wasn't court ordered. And then, not only did they get caught picking up Amari without the father being there, because that was the whole purpose of it, they were getting somebody else to look after Amari for them. In other words, the sister, well, you do this and you go do this and, and she's just sitting there watching. Instead of doing it for her nephew herself, she got this other girl to do it for her. And because they got caught, they switched it around, bailed out, said, we're not picking up Mari anymore because it's obvious that Judy doesn't want us to. It's all Judy's fault. It's not my fault that you were picking up Amari when your son wasn't there, or your brother wasn't there. I didn't ask you guys to fucking lie, and connive, and scheme, and plot, and slither around in the grass like a fucking snake. I didn't ask you to be that way. I didn't ask that person to come into my life and give me all this fucking information on the fly. This person is legit, people. A legit person told me this information. Well, didn't tell me the information, told Tisha the information, and the information was recorded. But she knows I know. She's not stupid. So, by what the court has done, they've allowed these people to continue to stalk me, threaten me, right? Right? Harass me, right? Injure my family, disrupt my family, right? Because they're in denial and they have an ulterior motive, right? If I didn't see the Instagram videos and read the comments, right? In one breath, Julian's sister is, oh, I love Shimei so much. We have a picture of being together. So? You have a picture of being together. Lots of people have pictures of being together with people. That doesn't mean anything. You weren't around here. So don't try and make it sound like you were. Right? But then on the other breath, oh, she was a wretched drug user, and oh, I'm going to expose everything about your wretched drug user daughter, Shimei, because she killed herself, and my brother shits out flowers. Yeah, right. He shits out flowers. That's why he doesn't pay child support. That's why he fucking just fell off the fucking grid and just stopped coming around to his mother's house when it was time to see his son. Right? That's why he has never been man enough to stand up and say, hey, I didn't do it. I can tell you why. I can tell you how I didn't do it. But he hasn't offered any kind of fucking explanation. Right? Instead, he's released his sister out like a fucking monster from a cage to stalk people. Stalk. Well, the court, on the other hand, is bankrupting men to the point where they're committing suicide because they're so alienated from their children. Like, why didn't he get 3-day-a-week visits? Huh? Under the supervision of Uncle Tom. Right? You know? They didn't even have Julian go into a fucking, what is it called? Into a, like a center. When they took on Andre, I had to go into a center and be like in a fucking center. It was it was a fucking building with workers in it, with all these different rooms. Right? It wasn't at the convenience of my home or their home. Right? Maybe yes, maybe no. You know what I mean? Anyway, that's all I wanted to say. I just wanted to show the disparity around this in terms of how the court is like purposely fucking with people's lives. Purposely fucking, it doesn't matter if male or female, because I think this guy here got shortchanged. Because even if he was showing signs of domestic violence, I guess you could say, right? You know, he didn't come in on the wrong foot like Julian. He didn't come in full of fucking lies. Oh, well, I'm living common law. No, you're not. You haven't been in this fucking house for fucking a year. Like, fuck off. Like, seriously, just fuck right off. Right? Because he thought if he could say he was living common law, he'd get the baby the next day. He straight up fucking lied to the judge, people. Okay? He lied to the cops, everything. This guy didn't lie. He had a relationship, the relationship fell apart, and then next thing you know it, he never even got supervised visits. Why? Why did he not get supervised visit with his kids? He could have had it in a building with a third-party source, right? Could have had it in a park. He could have had it in the freaking mall at the food court to see his kids, you know, right? With minimal supervision. He never made no threats to kill his kids. He never made no threats, I doubt, to kill his wife, right? And if he did, well, then yeah, there should have been maybe some supervised visits in there. But fuck, do you see the difference between how he was treated, where he wasn't allowed to see his kids for 11 months? Where Julian, they just handed over Amari on a silver fucking platter. And they kept him on that platter for a year and a half as his sister continues to stalk me. As she goes on Instagram trying to get people to side on with her little snippets of me. Are you going to snip something out of this video too and post it up on your, what is it called? Lost for something? The Lost Ones? I don't know. Something stupid. Doesn't change the facts. Doesn't change the facts that your brother was and is probably still a drug dealer. Doesn't change the facts that your brother was and probably still is a fucking addict and you just don't want to admit it. Doesn't change the facts that your brother is very extremely violent and unpredictable and capable of murder, right? Doesn't change those facts. Doesn't change those facts. The only thing that would have changed those facts is if he would have portrayed himself as a different man. But you see, he's not capable of portraying himself as a different man. He can only portray himself for who he is. Don't pay child support. Fuck with the courts to the point where you just don't show up, right? Use your family members and anybody else around you to do your bidding as you hide out and lurk in the fucking shadows. But yet, at the same time, sick your sick sister out in fucking society to stalk whoever she wants, when she wants, so that he can live a lie. Not my lie, people. It's not my lie.